Greetings, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening as well, since I don't actually know when this video is gonna be viewed. We are Group 11. I am Shams Adnan. My group mates are MD Rashiduzzaman and SK Shariful Islam. Our topic today is cloud service models. Firstly, I would like to thank our honorable faculty member for allowing us to speak on the topic. I would like to go over the objectives of this presentation, but before I do that, I would like to briefly go over the three types of clouds available to us. They are private, public, and hybrid. In a private cloud, the resources given by a provider is used by one organization only. The hardware is also sometimes hosted on site. In a public cloud, resources are shared between clients, much like renters of a household sharing a public water line. A hybrid model is a best of both worlds scenario in the sense that applications can make use of both public and private clouds. Now, on to the objectives of this presentation. We hope to provide you with a better understanding of the different cloud computing models being widely used today. We'll also talk about the service components offered by them, the disadvantages and the advantages. And since this is a security related course, we'll also talk about how to ensure your security. Let's begin, shall we? There are three types of cloud computing models: infrastructure as a service, IaaS, platform as a service, PaaS, and software as a service, SaaS. Firstly, infrastructure as a service. Now, IaaS is basically a form of cloud computing that delivers fundamental compute, network, and storage resources to consumers on demand. So basically virtualization, servers, hardware, networking components, etc. So it operates over the internet, which means you can access it from anywhere as long as you have a stable enough internet connection. It is a pay-as-you-go service, so you're basically paying for what you're using, nothing more, nothing less. This is suitable for those who want complete control over their IT processes from A to Z, everything from servers to hardware and virtualization, network, as I said before. Examples of IaaS providers are Amazon Web Services, AWS, DigitalOcean, MS Azure, etc. Now, the services provided. I have broken it down into four parts. The first being compute. Now, this is the processing capability and virtualization techniques that the service provider gives us, the organization. Basically, the processors, the VMs, etc. Second, we have storage. Basically, we have to store our data somewhere, so they provide us with storage mediums such as hard drives and SSDs. Third is network. So basically, we're moving large sets of data. So basically, that's why we need robust networking capabilities and network components which a service provider provides. Lastly, there are load balancers. So basically, the service provider spreads our workload over an array of compute units so that to avoid bottlenecking. Now, the disadvantages and the advantages. The first advantage is that it significantly reduces overhead costs due to the fact that you don't have to maintain a data center, so that maintenance cost is next to nothing. There is no single point of failure. So for example, if one node fails, your workload will not be affected because there are other nodes which can spring into action and continue working. It is accessible from anywhere on the internet, as I said before. It can be scaled according to your needs. So basically the pay-as-you-go model, if you need something more for a limited amount of time or something less for a limited amount of time, it can happen, and you only need to pay for that what you use. So basically, since the IT standpoint is being handled by another service provider, the business can focus more on business policies instead, which can, I guess, in turn increase revenue. Now on to the disadvantages. The first disadvantage is that the service provider only provides the infrastructure. So as I said before, the VM, the data centers, the network. So basically the softwares we have to install on our own, and we have to upgrade and maintain them, which can be done by the service provider, but I guess they'll charge you. And third, we are storing our data in the cloud. It does not belong to us anymore. It is not being stored locally. So data security is an issue. Another issue is interoperability. Now you're running a full-fledged VM on one service provider. Shifting that from one service provider to another is a difficult task. It's not impossible, but it's quite difficult. And the last advantage I'd like to talk about is third-party dependency. We're depending on someone else for all our data center needs. So if they fail, we're gonna face some problems. Now, ensuring security. Well, the first thing we can do is encrypt our data using our organization's generated encryption keys or other keys that we may think of. Now, secondly, we have to make sure that the systems we are using are properly configured. This will in turn help to significantly reduce security breaches. We can also put up virtual networking or a private network so that others cannot get access to it except for us. I cannot stress this enough. Role-based access permissions. We cannot have lower level authorized employees or staff or whatever snooping around in the server in places where they're not supposed to be. Logging. So we can log the network activity, any sort of activity, in order to better understand what is going on, what can happen, or what will happen in the future. We can put up firewalls, hardware-based or software-based. So it depends upon the organization to thwart any network attacks. We can also regularly and in real time scan network activity for any sort of attacks. Now, platform as a service. PaaS is a complete development and deployment environment in the cloud with resources that enable an organization to deliver everything from a simple app to an enterprise level application. So what distinguishes it from IaaS is that it manages middleware as well. So you're getting the operating system and the other things you require managed by the service provider. It is also a pay-as-you-go service as before. So this is suitable for those who want to develop applications without the hassle of data centers and middleware. Examples of such service providers are VMware Pivotal CF, Google App Engine, Windows Azure, etc. Now, the services provided. I've also broken it down into 4 parts. Firstly, programming languages. So the service providers provide support for various programming languages such as Java, C#, Python, etc. Secondly, we have application frameworks. The service providers provide support for pre-built frameworks such as Zoom, WordPress, etc., which makes development easy. Third, we have databases. The service provider provides support for various databases such as Mongo, DB, MySQL, Oracle, etc. And various other tools are supported for testing, deployment of applications. Now, the advantages and disadvantages. Since a lot of support is given to developers in terms of frameworks, so it cuts down on development time a lot. So as before, it is easily scalable thanks to the service provided by the service provider. Since also the data center costs are nowhere to be seen, and also since there is excess support, so we don't have to hire extra help, so that lowers HR costs as well. Some service providers provide community interaction, so you can communicate with other people and they can help you with your problems. There's also the point of flexibility. You can work from home if you want, because it is, after all, accessible over the internet. Now, there are other pre-built tools to help business. Now, the disadvantages. Firstly, there is the risk of vendor lock-in. So basically, you're developing for one platform that one provider supports. It's gonna be problematic to shift from one provider to another because they may not support that platform. As before, there are privacy issues because of the data we are storing up in the cloud. Now, since there will be communication between the system that the organization has and the cloud, so there will be an introduction of extra complications, extra layer of complications, which may be troublesome. And as before, we're at the mercy of the provider, so if they fail, we fail. And also there are security issues, as I said before. Now, how to ensure security? Well, we can do proper research of the provider's security state, what they do, how they're going to protect us. We can take advantage of those security options. And again, role-based access, as I said before, we should monitor network activities and account activities of various accounts. We should be deleting unused accounts that may pose a problem in the future if not done. Now we can, during development of our applications, we can use threat models to better understand what can happen, what attacks can happen, and be better prepared for that. And so every platform has some sort of vulnerabilities, so when we're developing something, we have to make sure that we don't inherit those vulnerabilities. Now, SaaS, software as a service. Now, SaaS is a web-based software and service distribution model. Basically, everything A to Z is managed by the provider. It is also a pay-as-you-go service, or it can be provided for free. This is applicable for those who want applications for business purpose without the hassle of having to manage anything software or hardware related. Examples of such service providers are Slack, MS Teams, Oracle CRM, etc. Now, services provided also for four parts: business services such as billing and sales, or team collaboration software, document management with the ability to track, create, and manage documentation, social networks such as Facebook, which provides SaaS services to their users, and finally mail services such as Gmail or Hotmail, etc., which provide SaaS email services to their users. Now, the advantages and disadvantages. The main advantage is it's very easy to implement. It offers a one-to-many model, so one service is used by multiple people. So there is little to no extra hardware needed for smooth operation. You just need a web browser mostly, because most service providers, you only need a web browser to provide service. Everything is managed by the service provider, as I said before. So most of the time, no installation is required, but sometimes it does. That's negligible. Now, since the service provider manages everything, there is next to nothing maintenance cost. And there's also multi-device support. You can log in from an iPad, an Android tablet, a laptop, a computer, or a mobile phone. It's your choice. The disadvantages are there's latency, but that's not going to be an issue now since we are progressing as a country and internet speeds are getting faster and faster. And as before, insufficient data security. Even though SaaS is getting more and more popular, there is lack of application. So there are not many services provided by SaaS providers, which is a problem. Now, SaaS solutions are standardized, so there are no cheap customization options for clients. There's also performance issues if one client end device is not properly configured or has some sort of problem. There's also third-party dependency, which can happen is that if the service provider fails, this organization may suffer from loss of data. That is a problem. Now, to ensure security, well, we can monitor the provider application. Sometimes we have to install the provider's application for suspicious activity. We can encrypt our data. We have to make sure that the employees are properly trained and they have adequate security policy creation laws. We should be adhering to industry compliance standards in order to better secure ourselves. We should commence proper auditing of user activity, that is. We should use data loss prevention solutions or DLP solutions. We should also monitor the collaborative sharing of data that users share. Finally, a summary. As you can see on the far left, we have a normal scenario. Everything is managed by the organization themselves, and going from left to right, we can see that the provider is managing more and more of the customer's needs. For example, IaaS, the customer is managing application security, databases, and operating systems. The provider is managing virtualization, servers, storage, networking, and data centers. In platform, the provider is also managing databases, operating system, and security. And as in SaaS, the service provider is managing everything. This is the end of our presentation. We would like to thank our honorable faculty member again for allowing us to speak on the topic. Goodbye.